Welcome one and all to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie here on the Reasons Sports Network, brought to you by Water Cleanup of Florida. Talked about this a lot recently. We found some stuff at our house. I went directly to the source, Water Cleanup of Florida. They've already come, checked out the situation, and we're working on getting it taken care of. So they've proven to me, and hopefully it proves to you, when they say they're available 24 hours a day, they mean it. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have something wrong with your home, whether it's water, fire, mold, damage, they will come. First of all, you call them, get in touch with them. That's first. Then they'll come out, check it out, and they'll get rolling on getting it fixed for you. None of us want to deal with these things with our house, but at least knowing Water Cleanup of Florida is out there gave me some peace of mind, and I hope it gives you some peace of mind. Just give them a call, 954-579-0356, 954-579-0356, or visit the website, wcufl.com. If you mention 5 Reasons or Lubie, that inspection will be free during business hours. Check out their socials, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Water Cleanup FL. Water Cleanup of Florida, we clean up your schmutz. Today might have been schmutzy for you because there's no Defo, just me. But I did talk to Mr. 5 Reasons himself, Ethan Skolnick. Seemed like it's going to be a very interesting offseason for the Miami Heat. One shot away from the finals. But Pat Riley was very loud and clear about this team is only looking forward, trying to improve, trying to be better. Will they be able to do that this offseason? Who are some of the people that you're looking at? Talked about that today with the one and only 5 Reasons Sports himself, Ethan Skolnick, here on the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Each and every day you can check us out on 5 Reasons Sports. We've been pushing our South Florida skewed content. There they are, to me, the home of South Florida sports. Local radio has sort of gone by the wayside. We did a local radio morning show. We did a local show since we started doing shows in 2010, Defo and I. And then we started doing a morning show in 2012. Local radio is something that this gentleman did for a long time. And then local radio sort of went away. And this gentleman was smart enough to go, okay, well, your loss is our gain. And now 5 Reasons Sports, to me, is the home of all things South Florida sports. This gentleman is the CEO, the founder, and is everything 5 Reasons Sports. And he's become, over the last few years, our Heat insider and just really NBA insider. Mr. Scoop Skolnick, Ethan Skolnick, knows his NBA as well as anyone, knows his Heat as anyone. And I wish you a good morning, Scoop. What's going on, man?
Good morning. How are you? That's a very nice introduction. I'm not used to that this early in the morning.
Well, there's no Defo, so you don't get jabs. You get a lot more love.
Yeah, the intro is a little shorter.
Just shorter. I don't know if Defo does anything shorter.
No, that's all. No, I was gonna say it's shorter with you.
Exactly, Defo. You still be doing the intro. I do want to get to it because it's funny. Defo makes fun of me because the off season is a lot more exciting for Heat fans a lot of the time than the regular season, even though this season actually gave us enough where you actually held off as a Heat fan for the off season. But the minute that shot was missed by Jimmy Butler, everyone was turning their attention to the off season. And look, the national media has sort of done it too, because of what's going on in Brooklyn. Look, Brian Windhorst said something that was interesting, and you tweeted it. I saw it live, and then, of course, you picked up on it. And that's more where my focus was for the Heat than Kyrie Irving. But it used to be the obligatory LeBron James statement when it came to the NBA. Now it's the obligatory. You have to talk about Kyrie Irving. What are your thoughts on the whole Kyrie Irving thing? He released his list of if he opts out where he'd like to be traded to. Is there any chance in hell that the Miami Heat have any legitimate interest in Kyrie Irving?
Oh, I think there's a chance.
Okay,
for sure. Look. No, I mean, talent is talent. And he has a relationship with Jimmy already. The vaccination thing is kind of at this point sort of over. I mean, he'd be coming to Florida. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think that you can rule anything out with them. I do think that what Windhorst said is where I would go with it, which is that Pat's always thinking of the move beyond the move. You go back to 2004. He made an offer sheet to Elton Brand, who he liked, who was with the Clippers. Elton was actually down here on vacation on South Beach. He was in the sand. He got back to his stuff. And there was a text saying that Donald Sterling, of all people, had matched the Heat's offer sheet, which stunned and upset him. And so literally in those next 24 hours, Pat made an offer sheet to Lamar Odom on the same team, knowing that Sterling was not going to match both. So it's chess, not checkers. So I do think the Godfather move, as Windhorst said, is to go get is to wait for the situation to completely deteriorate and try to get Durant. The issue is I don't really know what they can offer for Durant, without Jimmy and Bam being involved or Bam being involved. And if that's the case, to be honest, I'm not going to say what's the point, but it's not. Durant is Durant, provided that he's healthy, and obviously he's better than both of them. But it doesn't really get you. It's a different build, okay, essentially. So I think look, as far as Kyrie goes, I've dealt with him the year that he was one of the years he was in Cleveland. I'm not a huge fan of the way that he handles stuff, and particularly with the team. I've always said this when I first got to Cleveland in 2014. Basically to cover LeBron for Bleacher Report, when they moved me up there, essentially. The first thing I was told about Kyrie was nobody in the locker room had his phone number. So it's just, he's a difficult, he's
gotten worse, and he's gotten worse since then. That's the thing.
No, he's gotten a lot worse. He has smartest man in the room syndrome. And again, that's you can deal with certain guys. The Heat have dealt with certain guys. There's certain ones that they haven't wanted to, and they haven't made as big a push for. They will investigate everything. I think that there's a real recognition here, okay, that this thing is wide open. And it was wide open last season too. And Heat officials told me that before the year. That's one of the reasons they felt they overspent a little bit for Lowry, but they had to do it because they felt anywhere between 6 to 8 teams can win the championship. And when I go back at the list that they gave me, I don't even think the Warriors were on that list. So you're really talking about almost 10 teams that had a legitimate shot last year. And I think it's the same. It's going to be the same this year. I don't think that the Warriors are a dominant force, like they were, when they won the last couple of times. And we saw Phoenix. Phoenix may get much worse now. We'll see. Milwaukee, you would anticipate, would be better just because they'll be healthier. Boston probably will tweak it. They've got, obviously, some more additional experience now. And then, people will hype up, the star teams like the Lakers, et cetera. But there are a bunch of teams that are in the mix here. And so Miami, but I don't think Miami is stupid enough to think, okay, we're 4 points to the finals. We just run the thing back and we're going to get there. I don't think that's Pat's mindset right now. I've said that repeatedly. Okay. He's 77. He feels he owes it to one person on this roster, and that's Jimmy Butler. Jimmy is 32, and they got to get across the finish line here while they still can. So talent is talent. That wouldn't be my choice. I do think from a basketball perspective, if it was just that, he does fit. They need a dynamic creator is what they need. And he is absolutely that. They have other guys who can handle with him. They can cover him up defensively when he gets lazy. It makes a lot of sense for all of those reasons. But I don't think that's ultimately what happens. I think if Kyrie goes, it's more likely to the Clippers, maybe. It's kind of the team that I'm looking at. Yep. And again, that's another team that right now.
I forgot about it. I forgot about them.
Everybody did, but they are right back in the mix. They have 2 legitimate stars already, provided they're playing, and they have a very good coach, a guy who's proven himself over the past few years. So this thing's wide open. I think Miami recognizes that.
Well, and that's okay. So my next thing, and I talked about it this morning when I first came on, was, and what I want to talk to you about was, do the Heat have to make a move? And you sort of just answered it, because they were one shot away, and that was a team that was battered and bruised. So let's say, look, Riley didn't hide it. He called out Kyle Lowry, and Kyle Lowry isn't LeBron. Right. Kyle Lowry doesn't mind being called out. He's a competitive dude who said, nothing's a success without a title. Okay, so if your president's calling you out, you would take that and run with it, I would think, right? Okay, PJ Tucker is a big question mark right now because teams realize his value. He's not an automatic to return back to the Heat. But let's say they can keep him. Cool. To me, you were one shot away from the finals. However, you sort of said it, the Heat don't think about it like that because Celtics will get better. Bucks will have Middleton. The West is going to be crazy. Who knows what the Hawks do? Maybe they finally mature. There's a lot of, the Bulls were really good until they got hurt. There's a lot of teams that are sort of hanging around there that the Heat, I give them credit for being aware of. So you're telling me they think they have to make a move, where it's not the opposite, where do they think they can get away with not? They think they have to make a move at this point.
I think that the Jimmy timeline dictates it.
Okay.
I just, I think that internal improvement, they will get some. They always do.
Yeah.
But I think with some of their players, they are up against the ceiling here. And I think that was recognized in the postseason. I always say this, the playoffs tell. That's a Riley phrase, that I use a lot. And I just think it told. And I think it told a couple of things. It told you, one, that Kyle at this stage, needs to be managed to such a degree that even getting into premium shape may not be enough. I don't know if he will, but he can't get by anybody anymore. And when that goes, it goes. And if he loses 10 pounds, and make it a little bit easier. He's not going to be, as we just spoke about, Kyrie getting past people to get to the basket. So I think that's an issue. Now, I think Tyler will learn from this experience. He's learned from others. But I do think at some point the physical limitations end up limiting how he responds to some of this. The way that they guarded him, the physical way, the two on the ball, that kind of stuff. Yeah, he'll get better at making reads and making decisions and getting off of the ball, but I don't know that he has enough athleticism to, as teams keep hyping that up, to get past it. We'll see. Look, if Kyle and Tyler had just played to their regular season averages in the postseason, they probably go to the finals and they might have won the thing. So you can just talk about those two, but then there's others. Everybody else's 3-point shooting fell off in the postseason, and that is not just accident. It is the shots got tougher; they were harder to make. I want to see if Strus can kind of get past that, but there's just I like their team, I do, but I think that Eric maximized this group, and I think they recognize that. And one of the things you have to understand as an executive, and I think Pat does, is that when you have an elite coach, that sometimes it's a little bit smoke and mirrors. And I think that you look at 2017, that lesson, he learned it the hard way, because he ended up paying a bunch of guys that basically, Spo had put in perfect position to succeed. And it was always kind of illusory. It was not going to last. And so I think this team is better than those players. I think that they have a better development program than they had then. They have a core guys in Jimmy and Bam that at that point, they didn't have players of that level. Okay. They had like Whiteside and Josh Richardson. That's not the same, but I just think that I think they recognize that just running it back is not going to be enough. Now, whether they can make a move or not is another question. Heat fans are always, this is all NBA fans, but Heat fans in particular, because they always are doing the jersey swaps. They just assume if the Heat won someone, well, why haven't you done it yet? Okay. And it's not like everybody wants to deal with you. All right. Well, and look, sometimes it not happening at first. I remember when they were going to get Jimmy from Minnesota, and basically Pat hung up the phone on Tibbs, okay, because he was being ridiculous. But that original trade, they actually would have given up more than they ended up giving up to get him from Philadelphia. It was similar pieces. It was Olynyk and it was Josh, but Bam, was being discussed at that point. Okay. So what I'm saying is they are going to try to do something. Okay. But they need one of these guys, like the Beal situation. Like, you cannot dictate what's going on in someone else's head. Okay. If he wants to lose there forever, he's going to lose there forever. Now, Donovan Mitchell, Utah. Okay. So are they going to trade this guy who's on this incredible deal right now? When, to keep Gobert? They're going through a coaching change. Maybe but is Danny Ainge going to deal him to Pat Riley? I just think, that it's to me, Lubie, I just think that Heat fans, they have this pie in the sky expectation because, Pat can pull off anything. It's not just Pat. And sometimes Pat's reputation works against him because teams don't want to deal with it. There's there's a few GMs in the league, whether it's Presti or Masai or Pat, you're better off just calling Sacramento. That's
true.
What I would do.
You're like, all right, well, if he's trading with me, I'm not winning this.
Right.
Okay. You brought up an interesting name, and that was the thing to me with the Durant move is, yes, it's Durant, and if he's healthy, he's still young enough where he's almost you do anything to get him guy. But if you have to give up Bam, then are you, and you're better, yes, Durant and Jimmy Butler is better than anything they have now. But if you have to give up a haul to get him, how much better are you? So that, like, is anyone untouchable outside of Jimmy Butler? Like, we've heard Bam for the most part is untouchable. But if a Durant trade is on the table, is Bam in that trade? And then if so, what are the Heat after that?
I don't. It's such a crazy.
I know it's like a weird idea because I don't think Durant comes. I'm just saying, like,
I mean, would Pat do it if he? Probably. I mean, where's he getting another big? I don't know. I mean, to do those kind of things. I mean, look at it. You had last year in Brooklyn. You had it's a totally different build if you do it. Okay, and that's the thing. Like, does he want to do a restart of a build? He had last year Durant. You had Durant, Harden, and Kyrie at one point.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're telling me you're putting Durant and Jimmy Butler together and it's guaranteeing a championship? I mean, he could build around that, but it's going to take him. Again, it's similar to the Shaq build. When he first got Shaq, okay, they basically cleared out everybody but Dwayne, okay, and Eddie. Eddie was still there. So he brings in Shaq. And he said at the time, I remember at the press conference, he said, we may not put the whole thing together in one season. And he didn't mean on the court. He meant and they almost won the championship that first year. If Dwayne doesn't pull a ribcage muscle, they probably do.
Yeah, they win.
Okay. But that wasn't his point, was that we're not going to be able to do the entire roster construction right away. Okay. So he brings him in, and that first year was Damon Jones and Eddie Jones playing out of position and all that stuff. Right. But then it was in that off season that then he reshaped the thing. And, he brings in Antoine Walker and James Posey and Gary Payton and Jason Williams, okay, et cetera, and changes the mix. So you're talking about probably needing another off season after this one. And again, and then you got Durant is older and he's had injuries, and you've got Jimmy is older. Bam is a bridge to the next generation for this franchise. So, I mean, it may seem like a very myopic, like Heat observer, Heat fan view to say you don't trade Bam to get Kevin Durant. And I'm sure to the rest of the country it seems stupid, but I'm just saying in the context of where they are, and where Pat is in his life. Yeah, I mean, it's just like. Then it becomes not about winning a championship before he leaves, but just, I got you Kevin Durant. Like, I got you LeBron James, and I got you Shaquille O'Neal, and I drafted Dwayne Wade, and I got you Kevin Durant. But I don't think it ends up necessarily with the parade that he's looking for so that he can go flee to the south of France. I just, that's, which is what he always told me he would do. When I interviewed him after LeBron left and he was defiant, and I said, what's going to happen if you win another one? He says, Chris and I, that's his wife, they said, we're going to have, we're not even going to go to no champagne. We're nothing. We're no celebration. Literally walking off the court and going straight to a plane to go to the south of France. I maybe after he trades for Durant, he'll do it. But I don't think it's necessarily going to end up in a championship.
All right, before we let you go, I know you have your own thing, 9 o'clock. You check him out, 5 Reasons Sports Network. If not Durant, which I still think is not, it's very low probable. I don't think they want Irving and the headaches there. It feels like Mitchell's the biggest fish that they may get, but again, he hasn't asked out, and the Jazz are not that. The Jazz don't care. Like, the Jazz have a good deal with you. They're not. You can bitch and moan. They'll let you sit. Who else is out there that is a guy that they can bring in and be that next piece? Because I'm trying to think of it and I can't. So that's why.
Well, I mean, Levine is interesting. I don't know if he's going to actually leave Chicago. I have some concerns about Levine because he was a player that relied, as we know, as Dunker, heavily on athleticism, and that knee has been a problem lately. So I'm not really sure. There's some other guys who are not like superstars, but could be very skilled players who could help. I think Harrison Barnes is a really interesting guy to look at. They've liked him for a long time. He doesn't really fit the personality profile of the rest of this team. He's kind of an intellectual, sort of introvert type, not as much of a dog, so to speak. But I think that I think he would offer them a lot of options in the front court because he's versatile and he can defend and he can score, and He reminds me a little bit of Jamal Mashburn in that regard. And, Jamal as a complimentary player was very effective, but I just think that, there are some other pieces out there. I think Marcus Morris is a name we always come back to. They've always liked him. They nearly signed him 2 years ago. He's a much better player than his brother in a lot of different ways.
Yep.
But, these aren't these would be more it would be more like the 2005 thing, although not as many players, where you're basically keeping your core two. You're not adding a superstar, but you're adding an Antoine Walker and you're adding some other pieces that help them and give you more versatility, create more room for them. So I just think that, those are a couple names I would watch. The Tucker thing's interesting because I don't think they entered the offseason thinking they were going to lose him.
Yeah.
But it may push them to do some other things that they were considering anyway, and going to get a starting four that's not of that age. And a Harrison Barnes would be that type of player. So I would, and so would Marcus Morris. So I would watch those two guys.
Go check him out right now, 9:00. He does his own thing, Five Reasons Sports Network, at Ethan J. Skolnick, at the number 5 Reasons Sports, both on Twitter, very active. We are very proud to be a part of 5 Reasons Sports. You'll enjoy what they have going there. Scoop, appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot with you over the offseason about those Miami Heat. Thanks a lot, Scoop.
Thanks, Lubie.
All right. Always talking to the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to Miami Heat info. Ethan Skolnick, as insider, as anyone with the Heat. He's covered the team a long time, has a really good relationship with the Heat, knows his NBA as well, covered the NBA for a long time. Always like talking NBA, talking Miami Heat with Ethan Skolnick here on the Defo Show with Lubie on 5 Reasons Sports Network. Kevin Durant, maybe a shot in the dark, but to me it feels like, yeah, I appreciate Scoop saying, yes, the Heat would be interested in Kyrie. You always have to look at talent. But we know talent alone isn't everything with Kyrie. Everything else seems to overshadow the talent, and we know the Heat don't really like mixing it up when it comes to messing with the chemistry. The chemistry seems to be everything with this organization, especially this season. Yes, they do need to make some tweaks. The Heat seem to understand that, but you don't want to go the other way, and it seems like Kyrie does that to teams. Now, Kevin Durant will be a whole nother ball of wax. We'll see if that's feasible. What else is open to the Heat? We'll find out. It's going to be an interesting offseason. Check us out each and every morning, 7 to 9, live. South Florida Live on YouTube. South Florida Live on Facebook, The Defo Show with Lubie, Facebook. And check out our Susan Content podcast on the Believe Network. We talked with Len Robbins Friday. He's always hysterical. He's so funny. He knows his stuff and has a generate side to him. Check that out, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. And each and every day, our South Florida content right here. The Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.